January 20th, 2023. If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha. I'm your host, Downtown Donnie Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown, also known as the Walk Radio Studios here in the NAMI building on 217 Wisconsin Avenue, right around the corner from the Theodora Yalmans Park, where we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. And if you're looking for some good news on this chilly Waukesha morning where it's 14 degrees and the forecast calls for more snow, I'm pleased to announce that opening day for Major League Baseball is just 60 days away. For my two guests this morning, 60 days could be an eternity, and baseball in this day and age has become a year-round passion, a big part of their lives. And this is a historic episode because it's their first time ever meeting. I am pleased to welcome the Don of the Diamond, Don Radomski, head coach for Waukesha North Baseball, and the Bard of Baseball, Waukesha South, new head baseball coach and Waukesha South alumnus, John Stillman. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thanks. It's great to be here. And nice to meet John for the first time here.
So
when we're off the air, I'm definitely going to give him some jabs.
There you go. Hey, John brought some gifts in honor of this crosstown rivalry. And could you tell us about it? We can show it on the Facebook live stream here, too, so you can hand it over without breaking anything. This is probably one of the bigger wooden bats I've ever seen.
That thing is huge.
Yep.
So it is doing some spring cleaning in the baseball cages. I came across this enormous bat that evidently was used as a trophy bat between North and South, and I think we're going to bring it back. Maybe pretty it up, and
that thing is awesome. For people who obviously can't see on the radio, that thing is like twice the size of a regular wooden bat, but it's got that tanned old school feel. Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like a cartoon bat.
And what happened to the wooden bat in high school baseball? I remember I knew college still had the aluminum bat, but I remember being weaned off of the aluminum bat, and I hit better with the wooden bat.
We never used them. I went to Thomas More High School. We never used them. I know there was always talk that there would be a shift, but it never came to be. And every once in a while, guys would bring bats, and we'd use wooden bats or something in a BP or something like that. But I never really used. It wasn't a time in my career that I ever used a wooden bat consistently. Now everyone's got one, and they're always using them in the cages. And
but never in the games. Right?
No.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I thought it was always a cost thing where
they're more
you break bats, you got to
the
pay
metal is more durable, right? If it hits the handle or that late, like you're done. Yeah.
I played Lakes ball until I was 39.
Okay,
and we started with aluminums, and it was 25 to 22 games, and so then we went to wood. Probably 2000, it was a better game. You had to learn to hit with them. You had to learn how to not get jammed and swing at the right pitches, or else you're gonna, because we paid for all our bats. We didn't have a team that paid for all the bats. So and then we're, as I've known from getting to know these two guys over the last couple of years, we're all like children of the 80s. We all graduated, class of 89 myself, John 87, and then Don class of 89, and from St. Thomas More, right?
You bet.
Yeah, and John from South, and back then it was just like what Walter Matthau said in the Bad News Bears, when baseball season was over, towards the end of the warm season or maybe into the fall, you said goodbye to your teammates, and you spent you went hunting, or you got to know the wife and kids again, and
for me it was I went to Thomas More was a small, it still is fairly small, but it was all guys at the time. I think we started with like maybe 125 freshmen at the time. When we were seniors, it was under 70. That's how many people had transferred or dropped out. And that was the last year that we were all guys. And so our sports teams were the same 10: baseball, football, basketball. You went from one sport to the next, and what was it was fun. It was great. Loved it.
Sure.
Put the baseball away, and then you're playing something. You're playing basketball in the summertime, and then football.
And I'm still a big believer in that. I think like some of your best cross training for baseball in the winter, it takes place on a wooden floor where you're working on your footwork and your agility and all those things that translate into better baseball success. Of course, I'm biased to basketball, but Don, I know you're a hockey dad.
I am hockey dad, definitely not a hockey player. I haven't put skates on in a while. I'll stay on the sidelines for that one.
Yeah, but John, you should know when I went to one of full disclosure, I think most people know Don's son Jonah has been going out with my daughter Jordan for a couple years now. Great couple, great. They got a great thing going, and so I went to see a game, and there's an annual contest where you throw the puck on the ice, and the one closest to the middle,
chuck a puck.
Everyone around me is like, yeah, Radomski wins that every year. He's got that unfair advantage for the baseball, and so could we invite next year's? Could Coach Stillman go out there and compete with you about?
Well, I'll tell you what, I won't invite anybody because I'm just taking their money, because there is a little small fee you have to do to buy your pucks. Yeah. This is a fundraiser, but I like to pocket 50-50 on that. Yeah, sounds great. I actually do it for every home game. So that's one of the fundraisers that the club does to raise a little bit of money. And because I've had 4 kids through hockey, I've chucked a couple pucks in my day. So it's getting to be a little lopsided, but hey, it's funny. A couple games ago, one of my baseball players, who's Peyton Frainer, who's now playing college ball in Madison, he actually knocked me off the pedestal. I lost 2 games ago, and it was to Peyton Frainer, one of my own guys. That's like, and I heard about it, and I'm still hearing about it.
But you can also take pride because you taught him everything he knows, right?
I guess so. I never taught him how to throw a puck, though. But
sure. That's fantastic. So, but I want to get back to the question I was asking. So in our age, baseball was as much as we loved it, it was a seasonal thing. You put the glove away and the bat, and then you either picked up a basketball or maybe you went on the wrestling mat or hockey. Or what winter sports did you play, John?
I was a basketball player.
Okay.
And like you said, well, the difference is that baseball for me was a summer sport.
Yeah.
And so May 15th was a long way away from the end of basketball season. So my senior year, I actually threw the shot put just for kicks.
You track too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got talked into it by a couple buddies, and they said, well, we lift and we throw.
Okay.
I'm like, well, I was going to lift anyway. So, but and to your point, the reason why I think, people our age did that is because we were always competing. We might not have been the best. Maybe we specialize in a sport.
Right.
Maybe baseball is the sport, but you still competed in basketball. You still competed in football. You still competed in track. And to me, that's the thing that kids miss.
Yeah.
That if they specialize, great, they're getting better and the skills are getting better, but they're not competing.
And they burn out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to work with a kid. He was, I was doing some, while I was building up my business, I went back into the restaurant business, and there was a buster who was considered the greatest catcher. It was from one of the parents from another team that knew him since he was, and at age 18, he was the best catcher in the state defensively anyway. And I think he was with like the Rockhounds or someone like that. And by the time he was 18, he retired from baseball at age 18.
That's sad.
Because that's all he ever did. And I don't think you could get him to go to a Brewers game if you had free tickets. So, but I just got a text from South Super Dad, Jared Dable, his son Logan, will be going out for your team in the spring, and he's been with the Black Shirt Baseball program. And so Jared asks, he'd like to know from both of you how the game of baseball and prepping has changed since we played in our high school years.
Well, I'll take that one on. I can only speak to my own, experiences. But I played spring ball. I did not. I mean, I played summer ball too, but my high school, Thomas More, was a spring sport at that time. But as soon as spring was done, then I was fortunate enough. I lived in Oak Creek, and Oak Creek at the time was not affiliated through a WISA or a WIA. It was basically considered like a park and rec league, basically.
Okay.
But it was, that conference was strong. It was Tulsa schools were in there, and South Milwaukee was in there.
Was that more like a Legion?
It wasn't considered Legion. It was literally considered park and rec. And so I played with Oak Creek High School for 4 years, but I was the only non-Oak Creek High School attendee there. So I was able to play actually 2 high school seasons back to back. But as far as the prep goes, I think the difference now is that, I mean, they're almost expected to play year round, where if I wasn't playing on the field in a game, I was playing strikeout. I mean, I was playing in the yard every day. Before you went to your games, you played all day.
Yeah.
Or, you might take a break to have a sandwich or swim.
Yeah.
Other than that, you played all day. That's all you did.
That was me.
And you competed.
And you competed.
To my point.
If there was 6 guys, you played a game with 6. If there was 2 guys, you played strikeout. I mean, or on some days, like, let's play one-on-one basketball. You did something. Always competing. We used to keep notebooks and stats of our league, in the neighborhood.
Sure.
But you were, you were having fun, and you were playing, you were throwing. Everything wasn't as structured as it is now.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was great.
Sure. How about you, John?
Yeah, I grew up right across the street from Hadfield School, and like Don said, we drew a box on the wall and got the tennis ball out and played strikeout. And we had a group of guys that grew up in that area that we would shovel the playground to play basketball, and we would draw the line on the wall to play strikeout. And it has changed that in order to keep up with the other schools and the select programs, you got to start doing things in December and January just to compete with the big boys.
Sure. So now that there's year-round baseball, how do you guys as high school coaches how do you monitor that or manage that or encourage the kids to take advantage of it or to temper the activity?
Well, I will always tell them that, yes, baseball is important, but it's also the other sports that you need to be committed to your other sports. You need to be, you can't go and play a January baseball tournament and blow off your basketball team. I think it's important to throw and to get your body ready for what it takes to play in the spring. But at least me, I'm not as hardcore as other coaches might be on that, because I want them to do other things. I want them to get their muscles going in different ways.
Sure. Hey, when we come back, both coaches will give us a little forecast on what their teams look like this year, as well as talk about their jobs as teachers, and some 80s pop culture we'll throw in there. So This Week in Waukesha continues. Don't go away. This Week in Waukesha, and I've got first-year Waukesha South coach John Stillman, who's definitely not his first year at Waukesha South, but his first year in this new role as head varsity coach. And then, is it your 6th year at North now? Don Radomski, Waukesha North baseball coach.
Probably know that.
Yeah,
5 or 6. That COVID kind of throws me off.
Yeah, it throws
at least 5.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds great. So, finishing the discussion before the break, we were talking about the new normal with year-round baseball and all these different leagues, and like fall ball, and then now winter ball with some indoor facilities. And so I know, John, you'd spoke before the break about how you manage that, what your expectations are for the players, and how you encourage them to be in other sports. Don, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same park there as far as letting those. I mean, we want our guys to be multi-sport athletes. I big time support that. I have four boys, and we've always encouraged those guys to follow your heart. When you got a passion to play, to go do it. So we've always tried to balance that out. As far as baseball goes, for me, from a high school coach, it is tough because, we want to get those guys in and get their arms ready. The biggest thing for me is arm care, because when that season starts, it's a pounding on everyone's arms. I don't care what position you're playing. If you're, any position, obviously, especially pitching, but just arm care is huge. So the biggest thing for me in the off season is getting those guys together so they're building chemistry on their own and just having a good time. And freshmen through, we want the program to build. We don't want it just juniors and seniors hanging and freshmen hanging, and we want everybody to kind of get to know each other. So part of it, getting together, like through open gyms, as far as that's going, is just hanging with the guys and really working on arm care and taking our time through the progression. So when mid-March comes and we have pitcher-catcher week, they feel confident in their own bodies, and
Sure.
that's the key.
Yeah, well, good. And during the break we were talking about as when we grew up in a different time when baseball ended, when the season ended, season of the year that is. We grew up in that Sandlot era. Both of you guys said that. John grew up like just a stone's throw away from Hadfield, and closer than that. And Don, you talk about growing up Mill Creek and how you went around the neighborhood knocking on doors and getting kids to play, and you always had a good turnout. And if you didn't, you reinvented new ways to play the game, like taking some chalk and putting a box on the wall, or roughing up someone's backyard a little bit to have a mound and other things. And does it seem like now with youth sports becoming a $17 billion industry and baseball becoming do you feel like our kids are missing out on that kind of that magic from our childhood? That nostalgia?
I mean, it seems my son's in 8th grade, and I see that firsthand where it's hard for him to. It's harder for kids to do things like that unless it's really organized. And in the days of knocking on doors and, hey, can Jimmy come out? Can he come out and play until it's time to eat and time the street lights come on? Those days are over.
Yeah.
There's so many things.
Jimmy's in a traveling soccer tournament
or something. Exactly. Yeah. And it was a simpler time. And we would shovel the playground so we could play basketball. And like you said, we would put a chalk on the school wall to play strikeout, and it was we loved it. And but those days are over. There's so many other things that are pulling at their time, and unless it's organized, unless it's a means to an end,
right?
Instead of just playing.
Yeah. I agree. Yep. And I remember too. I'm just thinking back, and it's fun to reminisce about all that stuff. But even on days where it was, you had bad weather, it was rainy, we would have indoor stuff that we had invented. We create something, which that's the biggest thing that I see is just the kids don't have this ability to adapt to a different environment, situation. How many guys, they're waiting for somebody else to pull us all together. I'm like, just, I tell my own guys, just like, figure something out. You don't have a bat, well, figure something. What else can you use? Tennis racket or a stick, or we would play. If it's raining outside, we go in the basement. We play this thing called Stratomatic baseball. Baseball. Yeah. And you make your own team, you draft your own teams, and you use dice, and it was based on probability. And we kept a notebook of our stats on that. So it's like sometimes we look forward to a
baseball.
Rainy day. It's like we're going to play Stratomatic.
Yeah, that's right.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And it's not a video game. That's the other thing too. There's conversation and there's strategy. And again, I'm not going to knock video games because I know that's the era we're in. Yeah. There's always going to be something else, but you can't throw that away. I mean, the video games right now for kids and for high school guys, that's a big part of their culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time.
Yep.
So
going to that Stratomatic, we did that too. And I find that the people our age, if you were really into baseball, the history of the game, the trivia of the game, and these kids, you talk about things that happened 5 years ago, they have no clue.
Well, they don't watch.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not watching baseball.
Our nicknames would come from baseball. Like my nickname was Gates, after Gates Brown, the Detroit Tigers. Do you remember Gates Brown, John?
I know the name.
He was considered the greatest pinch hitter before the DH came along in MLB history. He was a outfielder reserve, or first base for the Detroit Tigers. Mm-hmm. And part of the lore is that the Tigers recruited him out of prison, which is where they would also find another all-star Ron LaFleur. And and then he was a batting instructor for that '84 World Series team. That was like one of the best, teams of all time. And so he was a big part of and my dad was a Tigers fan. That was part of it.
Well, see, kids today wouldn't know that.
Yeah, right.
They really wouldn't. And I don't know if that's a criticism, but it's a shame that they just they're not students of the game as much as we were.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember because I used to keep stats too. I used to know all that stuff. Like today, I could barely tell you who the starting lineup is for the Brewers, and that's because I have I can tell you the starting lineup for my daughter's team for sure, and probably going back like 5 years.
Yeah.
And
the other thing too is there was obviously a different time of MLB with guys stayed on their teams. I mean, you flip a coin and the next day a guy's on another team. That's a little bit different. Back in the day, I had my Stratomatic 1978, 79 baseball team, and I could use that same set of cards for 5 years. No one got traded.
It's the same guys.
I knew who it was going to be.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah. So when we come back, be prepared, gentlemen. Talk about this year's lineups and Who you like? I know Don has an advantage with a few years under his belt with the team, but John, as a football coach, knows some of the kids, so this should be an interesting discussion as This Week in Waukesha continues. Stick around.
I still get such a bang out of it, playing ball. Same as I did when I first come up. You get out there and the stands are full and everybody's cheering. It's like everybody in the world come to see you. And inside of that, there's the players, and they're yakking it up. And pitcher throws, and you look for that pill. Suddenly, there's nothing else in the ballpark but you and it. Sometimes, when you're feeling right, there's a groove there, and the bat just eases into it and meets that ball. When the bat meets that ball, and you can just feel that ball just give, and you know it's going to go a long way. Damn, if you don't feel like you're going to live forever.
That was a scene from one of my favorite and yet very tragic baseball movies. Can one of you guys name it?
Is that Bang the Drum Slowly?
No, that was another classic. Very sad. Nope. But it's based on a true story, and it's a John Sayles film.
Oh, 8 Men Out.
8 Men Out, and that was John Cusack playing Buck Weaver, who was the third baseman who he got kicked out of baseball for life, and he never accepted money. He had his average, just like Joe Jackson. His stats were really good during that World Series, but because he knew about it and didn't want to tell the guys that he was considered an accessory after the fact, and so was got the lifetime banishment from baseball. I know his heirs are still fighting to get him reinstated, and maybe, he had a Hall of Fame career before getting kicked out, and along with shoeless Joe Jackson. But if you've never seen that movie, I highly encourage it. Great baseball movie, especially
that has been a long time.
The heartbreak of get it. And there's something like Studs Terkel plays the reporter, the great oral historian, one of my favorite social historians. Studs Terkel plays the reporter that cracks the scandal. John Sayles is the movie maker. He always has a part in all his movies, and just all-star cast too. I had everybody in it. D.B. Sweeney was Joe Jackson. I mentioned John Cusack was Buck Weaver. A few other great. Charlie Sheen was Happy Felsh. Yeah.
What's Cusack doing nowadays? I haven't seen that guy's face.
It's been a while, yeah. So, yeah, probably.
Speaking of the '80s, you always had a Cusack somewhere showing up, right?
Yeah, this is a great transition because Don and John and myself we're all children of the '80s, and got to know John better through some of his friends. Some interesting characters I'd meet along in the farmers market, and found out that John was a big Queensryche fan. So he liked to get the metal out. So, Don, did you have a favorite band from the 80s?
80s. Off the air, we were talking about this. And back in the 80s, I was not a headbanger at all. I was more of a probably like a rhythm and blues type of guy or a R&B. It's just like, more dance music. We spent some time in the 80s back in the roller skating rink. So there was, Nucleus Jam On It is a favorite of mine,
Nice.
Yeah. And I could skate backwards, so I was pretty hot with the women back then,
We could see Heidi, you listening?
I can still skate backwards. Not on ice, I don't think.
So I can envision a North fundraiser at Skateland, maybe North baseball fundraiser at Skateland.
I don't know if that'd go over too well, but
that'd be, or maybe a dance-off between North and South baseball. So this would be a good opportunity to get to know the players better, John. So
that would not happen.
Fair enough. No. Hey, I've seen John at the last couple South basketball games doing the 50-50. And some other fundraisers to draw attention, the Quick Trip, and I'm sure Don, you're involved in the same things. But aside from their life passion, baseball, they also have successful careers as middle school teachers. Don is science, John is English, and so I got a couple questions for you guys. So John, when he was on the show last summer, had talked about he's teaching Shakespeare to his kids, to middle school kids too, which to me is extremely impressive. And said there's been a great reaction to it. So, John, my question for you, and that's why I was calling him the Bard of baseball, for anyone that understands Shakespeare. What lines from Macbeth would you use to describe to your students or your players the contrarian aspects of baseball?
Oh my gosh, she's putting you on the
Testing your
spot.
Shakespeare.
I hope you guys talked off the air. That's putting you on the spot.
I am not very well versed in Macbeth.
Okay. I'll make it easier for you. I think it was
We teach Romeo and Juliet, and
Okay.
then the high school kind of takes off from there.
sure, but it involves some witches, if that helps.
The
The
double
at the beginning.
toil and trouble.
You're getting warmer. It's from that same stanza.
If you start
I believe.
asking me stuff about
Yeah.
Shakespeare, I'm going to walk out.
No, we're going to go science with you, Don.
right.
We're going to be fair.
That'll work.
No,
That'll
no.
work.
I should know this, but I'm drawing blanks.
Fair is foul. Foul is fair.
Very good
Not
baseball.
bad.
Not
yeah,
bad.
very good, yeah.
Good,
Okay,
good
so
pull.
Don, the spotlight's on you. If boxing is the sweet science, what is baseball the science of? So no wrong answer here. Although I do have mine.
Yeah, I'm sure you want to hear something profound, but it wouldn't come from that. I think baseball is the sweet science of physics. I mean, it's all that's what it is. It's energy transfer. You talk about pitching and hitting. It's all about energy transfer, potential energy, moving it to kinetic energy. I'm a science teacher, so that's where I would hit. I'm hitting home runs with that answer right there.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, Don, because my answer was going to be the science of the American soul.
That's way better. That's better.
but
That's a better answer.
I like what you say about physics because it reminded me years ago when Evan was on a rookie league team with the Blazers, and Kim Walters was one of his coaches.
Nice.
And there was one of the best players. A dad knew his baseball, and he'd help out. And I enjoyed talking with him because he knew his baseball. And his father-in-law was at this game, and walking out, he says something smug about, when you warm up, you shouldn't throw so hard at him. It might ruin his confidence, or it might, it's like typical like father-in-law, son-in-law exchange. And the dad said, it's physics. It's like, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So if he can get a hold of one of my pitches,
Yeah, right.
he's going to, and whoever he's playing against isn't going to throw that hard. So, that's why I do it.
Sure. Well,
And
in the Classic 8, we tell our guys, if we're playing Classic 8, you're going to be facing 80 plus every time. Just put the bat on the ball. Let them supply the energy.
Swing hard in case you hit it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to swing hard when guys are throwing 85 plus. Just put the bat on the ball. It's going to go.
And that's what people forget about Henry Aaron, who is what many believe the legitimate home run king. And I think that's been reinstated. But you think of all these sluggers in history like Babe Ruth and Willie Mays, Frank Thomas comes to mind, among others. These were all big guys that had a lot of strength and power. I don't remember. Henry Aaron was not that big, but he had a sure swing, and that's what I'm said about. He knew how to play those fastballs.
And his hands were fast.
Yeah. So all those things. So, well, hey, let's jump into your teams. And Don, we'll let you go first because you've got a good body of experience with your boys, and you've had the advantage that John doesn't have, having to evaluate them when they're on JV and freshmen. And tell us about this year's team.
Yeah,
what you know so far.
It wasn't that far. I mean, like I said, 5-6 years ago, I was in John's position as far as coming in to a new program, and it's definitely a different situation now as where I was as far as personnel goes. And yeah, I don't have any advice for John besides the fact is just have your eyes on anytime you can and ask. Hopefully you can lean on your seniors and say, hey, what are your evaluations? And obviously they're not going to have every answer for you, but they're at least going to give you a pulse of the team and give you some direction to go with. I've been fortunate now. This is, so I had my first group of guys go through from freshman year through senior year, and seeing the development for the 4 years they're there it's cool. It's fun to watch. You always see these guys coming in as freshmen, and the standouts. I mean, you can just watch them play catch for 5 minutes, and you know who your guys are going to be. But then to watch them develop 3 more years later into the young men that they are, and then the success that they're going to have in college, it's a pretty cool thing. And to be part of that, it's awesome. We're really excited this year with our program. We had a lot of guys coming back that had success last year. And they're good guys. I mean, that's the other thing too is, they're baseball players, but they're fun to be with. They're fun to hang out with. They understand the game well, and they like to talk baseball. they're cool with each other. They get along well. So we're looking forward to some really good things. I mean, we did lose. We're losing Spencer Robertson, who's playing college ball. We're losing Peyton Frainer as our shortstop. He was our number 3 hitter. That's a huge gap. And you don't fill those gaps. You just hope that some guys can step up and contribute here and there. But to lose up Peyton Frainer, a number 1 all-conference guy, and he's going to have success at the next level too. That's every year you get those guys that are gone, and you're like, how the heck do you replace something like that? But we got the Curtis boys coming through. We got AJ Curtis and Connor Curtis.
We've seen them play basketball.
They're just good athletes, and they're after it. You were talking about compete level off the air, and those guys compete. I don't care what it is. No game is too big for them. No moment's too big for them. They look forward to that, and that is a lost art. You got to have a lot of good athletes along the way, but when it comes to these big moments and big games, sometimes they kind of hide a little bit, and that's not what these Curtis boys are all about. So we have leadership with those guys. What's cool is, AJ's he's gonna be our shortstop. He's gonna be a big guy on the mound for us, and he's a junior. So we've had him since freshman year.
And the younger brother,
and Connor's the younger boy. He's only a sophomore, and he caught most of the innings for us last year. He does play a corner position too, and he just does what he's supposed to do. He's just level-headed, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. It just kind of goes out there every day and does the grunt work.
And we're going to see the Curtis boys on the hardwood next Thursday when South comes to North.
Very good.
So I enjoyed watching them play when they were at South earlier. Curtis
they get
brothers.
after it.
Jonah Freedy he's on the baseball team as well. Yep. So John, you might remember Jonah, who played quarterback for North last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jonah's not playing.
Oh no,
playing baseball. Tried to when he was younger. Because he's friends with my son. Tried to say, hey, get that kid out for baseball, and he never made the transition. I think he stopped playing when he got to the football. Stopped playing. So, but we got Jake Eichstead, who's going to be outfield. He's a senior for us. He was an all-conference player. He was our leadoff hitter. So having a leadoff hitter and obviously strong up the middle is where you want to be, and so he's going to hold that down for us in the outfield. And we have on the mound, Tyler Sutner's coming back. He's also a hoops guy. Nice. Tyler Sutner will be one of our guys that we kind of lean to on the mound. So we feel confident going in, but again, I'm sure so does every other Classic 8 team. I mean, the Classic 8 is just pounded with athletes, pounded with upper echelon level players. But I think if we just worry about ourselves and the potential that we have and just worry about what we can do, and that other stuff will take care of itself, hopefully.
Sounds great. Okay, John, it's your turn, and John has a little bit more of a Herculean task getting to know the players.
I've had 3 open gyms to sit and watch people, and who's this? What's his name? But just from observing, I know we're gonna have some pretty good senior leadership. We have 9 seniors coming back with some varsity experience.
Okay.
We have 2 guys thus far, pitchers that will play at the next level. Tanis Lanning is a junior, and he made a verbal to Ohio State.
Nice.
Eric Teagues is going to play at Beloit.
Right. That was announced here on Walk Radio.
Yep.
To the world.
From what that kid went through, that's just an amazing and impressive accomplishment. We're going to have some, the guys that I'm leaning on right now.
Don's listening from the firehouse down in Caledonia, so I saw him last night. So.
The guys that I've depended on for communication, and like Robert Savakul and Will Smoiver and James Smith, they're all going to be dependent on to lead us.
Great kids.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun just to kind of put pieces together. But I think our pitching is going to be, you can never have enough pitching.
Sure.
But I think that's going to be our depth, our strength right now.
And I think one advantage is because you're also the offensive coordinator for the football team, and your should I say immediate supervisor, Coach Darnell Wiltz, is also a baseball dad. His son's in the Firebirds program,
as with my son.
So that's right. You guys play together. They play together, and they've played football together. And so I think baseball and football could be a great recruiting tool for each other.
Correct.
Knowing the continuity and coaching.
We're gonna have some experience behind the plate. Mitchell Crawford will kind of stabilize that as well.
That'll be great. Sounds good. Terrific. So
just so you know, John, There was last year that you guys played a game in basically a blizzard. Just so be ready for that.
I've been warned. I have.
That's right, yeah.
I'm gonna get the electric jacket.
Get the outerwear guy.
Oh my gosh!
So great.
I don't fare well with that.
So when we
dress warm, that's my first advice for you. Dress
when
warm.
we return, we're going to talk more North-South baseball and maybe some new rivalry traditions in this week in Waukesha. When we come back, don't go away. And James Santel has just walked in, so Morning Cannolis, don't forget, we'll be on at 9 o'clock when we're done. We'll be back. Hey, we're back this week in Waukesha, and those are my old friends at church with Metropolis, another classic from the 80s, in which South baseball coach John Stillman, North baseball coach Don Radomski, and yours truly, those were our high school days. And we had a conversation earlier about this sports specialization and playing year-round. And Steve Staub, a South parent, my son Brighton is on the basketball team with my son Evan, and he's been in the South baseball program. So he'll be going out for Coach Stillman's team. But and thank you, Steve Staub. You set up some wonderful meetings with myself and the athletic department and some other leadership at Carroll, and we're exploring some partnerships with Walk Radio and Carroll that I think the intention is to create even greater connectivity with such a wonderful university, the oldest university in the state here in the Shaw. So looking forward to those developments. But Steve wanted to speak as an athletic trainer. Wanted to speak to the issue of sports specialization. He's saying it's not only causing injuries and burnout, but it is also disrupting community support and school loyalty with clubs, kids playing across borders, etc. And Steve mentioned it, like us growing up as a kid, we spent a lot of time going to high school games. And so point taken, and I know Don and John have spoken to that to a degree. And I also wanted to share another text from actually went to John Stillman and myself from another skipper of yours, the athletic director, Dan Schreier, and he says, "Nice job, guys." So didn't say anything about Don Radomski, but no, I think he meant all of us. So isn't that right, Dan? So I love that we're getting all these text messages, and don't be bashful. You guys can call in too, 844-967-2789. So, but we wanted to return to, John was speaking about getting to know his players in his first year, a situation that Don Radomski found himself in about 5 or 6 years ago. And but you feel pretty good about your progress so far, John?
Yeah, I really do. It seems like I get the vibe that these kids really want to be coached up, and they really want to see what they can do. And I know very little about what happened in years past, and quite frankly, I really don't care. But I just know that these kids, whatever sport you're in, but especially these kids right now, they're hungry to do something, to be accountable. And that's the cool thing right now. It's January 28th, things could change, but as of right now, things are going as well or even better than I could have expected.
Yeah. So Don was also on my show along with you, John, last summer at the farmers market, and I'd asked him who like one of his coaching role models was mentors, and I was looking more towards like a major league. I was thinking, he might say Earl Weaver or somebody like that, or Lou Piniella, but instead he mentioned his high school coach at St. Thomas More, Joe Zalecki, who also went on to coach at Cardinal Strick.
Absolutely.
And you still coach, you do some part-time coaching at Bryant and Stratton. Do you still do that? Is that correct?
Not anymore. That was
okay. I saw it on an old web page there, so they got to update that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that website.
But his son coaches there still, right?
He is no longer there as well.
Okay.
So what happened? We'll see. I actually coached girls golf at Brookfield Central for about a 5-year stint. Freshman, I like golfing too. I'm not good, but I love the game. Yes, but I like to
John raised his hand too, so we made
so it was freshman girls golf at Brookfield Central.
We have half of a foursome here.
So when you're talking about freshman girls golf, the really skilled girls would move on to play varsity. So I was basically coaching girls who just got started. So I was like, this is how you hold a club. No, so I did know more than them,
Yeah.
but that's about it. So,
Sure.
but after that, I wanted to get back into baseball. I had missed it, and Mike Zalecki, who is the son of Joe Zalecki. Joe Zalecki was over at Cardinal Stritch for a while. Then Mike Zalecki took over the Cardinal Stritch job for, I would say, 13 plus years.
Wow.
And then that program folded for funding reasons. And then Mike got the job over at Brighton Stratton. And I called Mike and said, hey, if you need any help, I'd love to be part of that. And they were just getting part of their program. And Brighton Stratton is a new athletic JUCO,
right.
very up and coming.
One of our South guys graduated. He's playing there too.
Oh, that's right. You're
the
a leadoff
fielder.
hitter, right? Yeah, the leadoff hitter. Dominic. That's right. Dominic's over there. Yep.
But what was it about Coach Zalecki that influenced you, or that shapes your view on the game or approach to the game?
John Stillman was talking about accountability, and I think when I was growing up, I had a strong influence with my dad as well. And this is another male figure in my life that held me accountable to everything I did. He was also a teacher at the high school as well.
Sure.
So I had him he was a teacher of mine. And, I think everyone's that's been successful in sports could probably go back to that one coach that was the highest influence on them. This was that guy. I just felt that when I was making a decision, whether it be on or off the field, I was accountable to both my dad and to him.
Okay.
And I felt like I never wanted to let him down. He was just an inspiration to just be the best and everything you possibly can do. And
love it.
He was one of these guys that if there's a way to do something right, everything in a game of baseball. And he talked about not stepping on the foul lines, wearing your hat the correct way,
love it.
Making sure when you get out of the car your uniform's on. Exactly. Yep. All those things. That stuff matters. And I live through that stuff now when I'm talking to my own teammates that there's a right way to do it. And if you don't know the way to do it, then ask me because I'll tell you.
I love it. So John, who was your Joe Zalecki? I don't know if we asked that last. If we had time for that last summer.
I never really looked to the professional managers or coaches because I just don't know them as people. But I would just like if I can remember a favorite teacher and try to emulate that in the classroom. I think the best coaches are the best teachers. My football coach in high school, Jeff Trickey, is probably the guy I still lean on for advice. Fritz Richter was my Bo's dad was my baseball coach, and he's forgotten more about baseball than I'll ever know. But those guys, you kind of, as a teacher, I always try to remember the teachers that I had that I really respected. And why did I respect them? Well, they didn't yell every single minute. They explained things. They let you make mistakes. They corrected the mistakes. And to me, coaching is just a teaching, but in a different setting. And those are those guys come to mind. And even guys that I played with or coached under or played under in college, I take bits and pieces of and say, I like how they did this. I don't like how they did this, so I'm going to kind of avoid that. And hopefully that comes through.
That sounds great. So, hey, we have less than a minute. Jared Dable just texted, said he wants to sit down with both you guys for a few drinks. Love to be in on that. Love to have more time with you guys. Maybe at the North game next Thursday, you guys could come on at halftime, talk some more about some baseball. If you're both there, that'd be great. It's at North. And then South hosts West this Tuesday in basketball. North coach Don Radomski, baseball coach, South baseball coach John Stillman. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. Bye for now. James Santel is next with Morning Cannolis, and see ya. Thanks, guys.